Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel US Immigration News. We hope you are doing great. Well, in today's video, we will be talking about December 2024 Visa Bulletin modest.
All right, jumping right into it, folks. Today's deep dive, it's the December 2024 Visa Bulletin. And we're going, well, beyond just the headlines, really want to dig into what these dates actually mean for people out there, for their careers, their lives. We're talking about those folks aiming for those U.S. employment-based visas. And let's just say, this bulletin, it's a little bit of a roller coaster, wouldn't you say?
I think that's a perfect way to put it. It's a mixed bag, that's for sure. You see some movement, which is always good news, of course, but that backlog is stubborn, especially for those coming from India and China.
Okay, so let's break it down, starting with EB1, that priority workers category. We're talking top executives, researchers, folks with those really extraordinary abilities, those at the top. What's the outlook looking like for them this time around?
Well, good news for most of the world. EB1 is current. That means no waiting, straight to processing those green card applications, a pretty smooth ride.
That is fantastic to hear. But you did say most of the world, so I'm guessing there are some exceptions?
Yeah, unfortunately there are. So while it's current for a lot of countries, China and India do have cutoff dates. China's looking at November 8th, 2022, and India February 1st, 2022.
So even at that highest skill level, those country caps, they really can make a difference. Imagine being someone, right on the wrong side of that date. So close.
Absolutely. Right there. Almost touching your dream, but potentially facing months or even years more waiting.
It's a tough situation, no doubt about it. All right, let's move on to EB2 now. For those with those advanced degrees or maybe exceptional abilities, this is where things, I think, start to get a bit trickier. Am I right?
Oh, definitely. This is where we see those backlogs really having a heavy impact. For India, only a 2-week advancement, just to August 1st, 2012. To give you some perspective, someone who applied back in 2011, they're still waiting. Potentially over a decade. Can you imagine?
A decade? That's longer than some people's entire careers. It's wild. What about other countries in EB2? How are they looking?
China's holding at March 22nd, 2020, and all other countries are at March 15th, 2023. So a bit more recent, but still a pretty long wait.
Okay, so EB2, some movement, but man, it's slow going. What about EB3 then? That category for professionals, skilled workers, and other workers.
EB3, well, this is where it gets really interesting. You see these tiny, tiny increments. Really shows you how backed up it is. India, 1-week advancement in both the professional skilled workers and other workers subcategories. In fact, just 1 week to November 8th, 2012.
It's almost hard to grasp how a single week could be so important, but I can imagine for those who've been waiting years, any movement is a good sign.
Oh, absolutely. It's a glimmer of hope. And it really does underline how intense the competition is, the sheer volume of applications. For China, even tougher. The dates there are stagnant. April 1st, 2020 for professionals and skilled workers, and January 1st, 2017 for other workers.
So good news, but for some, it must feel like a drop in the bucket compared to the years they've already put in. What about other countries in this category? Anything to note there?
For everyone not from India or China, the dates are a little better. November 15th, 2022 for professionals and skilled workers, and December 1st, 2020 for other workers. Still a wait, sure, but nothing like what India and China are facing.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Talk about EB5, that investor visa category. Always interesting, brings in a whole different set of applicants and things to consider. What's jumping out at you in the December bulletin for EB5?
EB5, it's really striking this time around. It really highlights the differences between countries, even between types of investments within EB5 itself. So if you're looking at the unreserved categories, meaning those not tied to specific regional centers, well, both China and India, they're completely stalled.
Frozen, just like that. What are those dates and how long have these folks been waiting?
We're talking China, July 15th, 2016, and India, January 1st, 2022. So yeah, years of potential standstill for those investors wanting to get involved in U.S. businesses. It really makes you think about the impact, not just on those individuals, but on the U.S. economy too.
That's a great point. It's bigger than just one person's dream. It's about those investments on hold too. But you mentioned differences within EB5 itself. What did you mean by that?
Right, well, this is where it gets interesting, so bear with me. We see those long waits for China and India in the unreserved categories, right? But all other countries, and here's the kicker, all the set-aside categories within EB5, they're current.
Whoa, hold on. Got to break that down for our listener. What are these set-aside categories and why are they so different?
Good question. So set-aside categories, they're specifically for investments in certain areas, Areas the U.S. government considers high priority, things like rural areas, high unemployment areas, and infrastructure projects, those are big ones.
So if you're willing to invest in those specific spots, it's a much smoother path to a visa. No matter where you're from, it's like a fast track.
You got it, like a fast track for those wanting to help those key parts of the U.S. economy. Creates a really interesting situation, some investors waiting years, while others, depending on where they invest, they move right through.
Incredible how one visa category can have such different timelines, all these little nuances. And I bet our listeners are starting to see how complex this whole system is. Which brings us to another layer, the dates for filing chart. This is where things can get a little confusing, right? It's still important to understand, though.
Oh, definitely important. Think of the dates for filing chart as a possible alternative timeline. Sometimes it gives you a chance to file your application earlier compared to the final action dates we talked about.
So like a possible shortcut, but I'm guessing there's a catch.
There's always a catch, right? Let me give you an example from the December bulletin, make it a bit clearer. Let's look at India's EB2 category. The final action date, still stuck back in 2012, remember? But on this dates for filing chart, it's January 1st, 2013. Not a huge jump, but it could shave off months of waiting.
And after waiting over a decade, those months probably feel huge.
Exactly. And for China, in the EB2 category, dates for filing chart moves up to October 1st, 2020. Again, much more recent than that final action date.
Okay, so this dates for filing chart, I see how it offers some hope, maybe even some strategic advantage. But I'm feeling like there's a but coming.
You know it. The big but is that USCIS, that's U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, they have the final say on which chart they're going to use for each category each month.
So even with the shortcut, there's still that uncertainty, gotta stay in the loop.
Always got to stay informed. It's a bit of a waiting game. USCIS makes their decision, announces it on their website, usually around the 10th of the month.
I can only imagine how nerve-wracking those last few days must be.
Oh, it's a roller coaster for sure.
Well, we've covered a lot, and I think our listeners are starting to get a feel for this December 2024 Visa Bulletin. But before we go further, let's step back from the numbers for a sec. Let's talk about the human side of all this. What do these dates actually mean for people? We're not just talking deadlines here, we're talking hopes and dreams, whole lives potentially on hold.
You're absolutely right. Behind each of those dates on the bulletin, there's a person, a family, a whole story waiting to happen.
And those are the stories we're going to dive into next.
Try to picture this. You're a skilled professional, let's say in India. You applied for that EB2 visa way back in, let's say, 2012. You built a whole career, maybe even started a family, all while holding on to this dream of coming to the US. And now, over a decade later, you're still waiting. It's a lot to carry.
It really is. It's hard not to think about the uncertainty, the impact on families. You're basically asking people to hit pause on their lives for years and with no guarantees.
And it brings up these tough questions, about the human side of these backlogs. It's not just about someone's ambitions, it's families being apart, careers maybe hitting a wall. The emotional toll of living in limbo for years, it's a lot to handle.
And it's not just individuals who are feeling it, right? I'd imagine businesses in the US are impacted too. They're waiting on those talented employees, those key team members, and that can really slow things down.
Exactly. We're talking ripple effects across whole industries. It's a big deal. Companies struggling to fill those vital roles, projects getting delayed, the US economy itself takes a hit. All because those skilled individuals are stuck waiting.
It's a messy situation, no easy answers, but it really shows we need some changes, more efficient processing, a system that's fair, that's timely, recognizing the value these people bring.
Couldn't agree more. We've got all these bright minds, eager to contribute, ready to go. And the current system, it just feels like it's working against them.
So for those out there who are in this system right now, what advice would you give them? How can they stay in the loop, stay positive, and make the most of this, pretty challenging situation?
First things first, stay informed. That's crucial. The Visa Bulletin, it's just one piece of the puzzle. You really need to work with experienced immigration attorneys. They can guide you through the whole thing. Anticipate those challenges, help you come up with a plan. It makes a difference.
So this isn't something you want to try to tackle on your own. You need that expert guidance.
Oh, absolutely not. Immigration law, it's so nuanced, and the rules are always changing. Having that knowledgeable person on your side, it's a game changer.
Beyond the legal side of things, what about the emotional toll? It can't be easy to stay positive with these kinds of delays and uncertainty hanging over you.
It's tough, no doubt about it. That's why finding support is so important, whether it's family, friends, even online communities. Places where people are going through the same thing, sharing their stories, connecting with others, finding ways to manage that stress and anxiety. It's crucial for getting through this.
It's a good reminder that behind all those numbers and legal terms, we're talking about real people. People with real feelings, real dreams, and those dreams are worth fighting for.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And yeah, the waiting can be super frustrating, but don't lose sight of the big picture. Keep building your skills, keep networking, keep that career moving, and keep your eyes on that long-term goal.
So it's all about perseverance, resilience, and a healthy dose of patience, right?
You got it. And who knows, maybe that waiting time can even be a time for growth, self-discovery, a chance to really think about your goals, explore some new paths, maybe even come out stronger on the other side.
That's a really great way to look at it. We've talked a lot about those final action dates and the dates for filing chart. They're kind of the main event of each Visa Bulletin, right? But it's important for our listeners to remember this is just a snapshot, a moment in time. These dates, they're always moving, and there are other things that can affect your own personal timeline.
It's true. It's kind of like trying to predict the weather. You know, you look at the forecast, sure, but there's always something unexpected that can pop up.
So while the December 2024 Visa Bulletin gives us some clues about what's going on right now, it's not the whole story. The best thing you can do is stay informed, work with those experienced pros, and be ready for anything.
Couldn't said it better myself. Flexibility, adaptability, being willing to adjust your plans, that's crucial for navigating this whole thing.
Speaking of adjusting plans, I'm curious about your thoughts on how these long wait times, how they might be impacting people's career choices, their life choices even. Are we seeing people switching gears, looking at different paths, maybe even reconsidering the U.S. altogether?
That's a really interesting question, and it's definitely something we're seeing more and more of. When you're looking at a wait time of years, well, it's natural to start thinking about other options. Some people, they might decide to go for opportunities in other countries, places with faster integration systems.
So instead of waiting for the U.S. to give them the green light, they're taking their skills elsewhere.
Exactly. They're weighing their options, choosing paths that fit their goals, both personally and professionally. And for some folks, that might mean putting those U.S. dreams on hold, at least for now.
Makes you wonder if the U.S. is losing out, missing out on talent and innovation, all because of this slow, complicated system.
It's a valid concern, definitely. We're in a globalized world. Talent can go anywhere. If the U.S. wants to stay competitive, it needs to make things more welcoming, more efficient. An immigration system that attracts and keeps the best and brightest, no matter where they're from.
That's a point worth thinking about for policymakers, for anyone who cares about the future of the U.S. economy.
Absolutely. It's not just about numbers and rules. It's about people, their contributions, their potential.
Yeah.
They have the power to shape the future. That's what it's really about.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive into the December 2024 Visa Bulletin, I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on, a question that goes beyond just this one bulletin, a question about the bigger picture.
I like where this is going.
With these long wait times, with all the uncertainty around U.S. immigration policies, how is all this shaping the global landscape of talent and opportunity? Big question, I know. Are we seeing a power shift, with other countries becoming more attractive for skilled professionals, for investors?
That's a really profound question, one that we need to think about carefully. It goes beyond just the individual. It's about global mobility, economic competition, the future of work itself.
Yeah, it really makes you think. If you're someone with talent, with options, would you wait years for the chance to come to the U.S.? Or would you look at those other countries, the ones kind of rolling out that welcome mat a little quicker?
That's the dilemma so many people are facing these days, and it goes beyond just like speed,
Yeah.
It's about feeling wanted, feeling like you're valued. When you see these other countries, they're actively trying to get skilled professionals, making immigration easier. Well, it makes you wonder if the U.S. is, maybe fallen behind a bit in that global talent race.
It's a bit of a reality check, isn't it? We can't just assume people will always pick the U.S., no matter how tough we make it.
Exactly. The world's changing. The way we work is changing. Yeah. The U.S. needs to change, too, if it wants to keep attracting those top folks from around the world.
So for our listener out there, the one maybe thinking about their career, their investments, this Visa Bulletin, it's not just about numbers and dates. It's a glimpse into how the global economy is shifting, how the competition for talent and money is heating up.
That's a great way to put it. It's a chance to really think strategically, weigh those options, consider what your choices mean in the long run. And who knows, maybe all this uncertainty, all this change, maybe it'll lead to some good stuff in the end. both for individuals and for the U.S. immigration system as a whole. You never know.
Fingers crossed for some positive change. It'd be amazing to see the U.S. take a more, modern approach, one that recognizes just how much those diverse perspectives and global talent bring to the table, how much they enrich things.
100%. Imagine a system that's more flexible, quicker to respond. A system that really celebrates immigrants and everything they do for our society. That'd be something.
That's a vision worth working towards.
Well, I think we've explored a lot today in this deep dive into the December 2024 Visa Bulletin. We looked at the numbers, the trends, the good, the bad, and those human stories behind it all. It's been quite a journey.
It really has a fascinating conversation. And I hope our listener out there, I hope they have a better understanding now, not just of the visa process, but also all those bigger forces at play, shaping talent and opportunity globally. It's the big picture thing.
And remember, folks, even though waiting can be a real pain, there are things you can do. Stay proactive, keep learning, keep building those connections, and never let go of that dream.
Well said. Don't ever underestimate the power of sticking with it, being flexible, and keeping that positive outlook. It goes a long way. So to our listeners, stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop exploring those possibilities out there. The world is full of opportunities, and with a little planning, a lot of determination, you can create a future that fits your goals. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be sharing your success story right here on The Deep Dive. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
Advancement for EB2 and EB3, all other employment-based categories remain unchanged. The U.S. Department of State December 2024 Visa Bulletin brings modest changes to the employment-based immigration categories, particularly for Indian applicants in EB2 and EB3 categories, while others experience little to no movement. In the EB1 category, which covers priority workers, China's cutoff remains on November 8, 2022, and India's stayed on February 1st, 2022. For all other countries, the EB1 category remains current, meaning applicants from these nations are unaffected by any cutoff dates and can proceed with their application without delays. In the EB2 category, which is for professionals with advanced degree or individuals with exponential abilities, India sees a slight advancement of 2 weeks, with the cutoff moving to August 1st, 2012. However, China's cutoff remains unchanged on March 22, 2020, and all other countries stay on March 15, 2023, while India's slight progress provides some relief. The overall landscape for other countries in this category remains largely static. For the EB3 professionals and skilled workers category, which applies to professionals with at least a bachelor degree and skilled workers, India sees a minor 1 week advancement to November 8, 2012. However, the cutoff for China remains on April 1st, 2020, and for other countries remains on November 15, 2022. This minimal progress for India offers a slight improvement but does not significantly change the situation for applicants from other countries, many of whom still face lengthy wait times. Similarly, in the EB3 other workers category, which includes unskilled and skilled workers in roles requiring less than a bachelor degree, India will see a 1 week advancement to November 8, 2012. China's cutoff stays at January 1st, 2017, and other countries remain at December 1st, 2020. This category also experienced minimal progress for India, but for applicants from other countries, there is no movement, underscoring the prolonged wait times for many. The EB5 category, which is for immigrant investor, there is no movement for India or China. In the unreserved categories, China's cutoff remains at July 15, 2016, and India stay at January 1st, 2020. However, all other countries remains current, meaning applicants from those countries can continue their applications without delays. Additionally, the EB5 set aside categories including rural, high unemployment, and infrastructure are all current, providing more opportunities for investors in qualifying projects. The dates for filing chart, which determines when applicants can submit their adjustment of status application, remains unchanged from November. Indian applicants in the EB2 category will see the cutoff move on to January 1st, 2013. while EB3 professionals and skilled workers for India will ship to June 8, 2013. USCIS will announce whether it will accept adjustment of status application based on the final action dates or the date for a filing chart in December. In conclusion, while there is some advancement for Indian applicants in certain categories, many applicants from other countries, especially China, continue to face limited progress and long waiting time.